Because if it takes 100 mics, let's remember, I am 100 shy.
Tonight I'm at a comedy showcase at the Whip Theater, headlined by a talented touring comic, Body Weight Stars. I caught him outside, and we hit it off.
So the pizza driver joke is, like we were talking about, situational humor. Like, this is only funny to people who are not from Chicago and or a pizza driver or both.
Yeah.
So there's 3 streets in Chicago that rhyme with vagina. So you're not from here, so it won't even work on you right now. So I say, what 3 are they? Most people say Paulina right away. Then I usually say, okay, the second joke is the second street is Malvina.
Yeah.
And then they never guess the third one, which is Lunt. And I'm telling you, we have an old guy pizza driver sitting there just like, what other street rhymes with Paulina, Malvina? You know, and they sit there for half an hour, and then you say Lunt, and they're just like, you fucking asshole.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But you're, a lot of these guys in the auto shops, the same thing. You know?
Well, in the auto shop though, we don't pull any punches. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
for sure. I grew up in a shop with my dad, so I know exactly.
Oh yeah, if a girl was there to deliver parts, you know what I mean? You're walking into the Thunderdome, lady. Like,
Yeah.
You have to have thick skin. There's no such thing as sexual harassment here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And all of us. I got my dick grabbed so many times in a shop, and it was just, hey, how's it going? Squeeze the hamburger. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that was. My dad loved to play a game called Clack 'em. Where you hitch in the nuts and make your knees clack them together.
Oh.
Yeah. He started doing it with tennis balls, man. He'd like do like trick shots, like bounce it off and stuff, and hitch in the nuts. So brutal. So yeah, words when people heckle, I don't. It's not a. Like, as long as they're not throwing a tennis ball at my nuts, I'm all right. I can defend myself verbally.
Wow.
So.
I haven't seen too much heckling, but I hear this scene in Chicago is real supportive and.
Really?
Yeah, like I haven't seen anyone heckle anybody in this scene. I mean, I've seen video of it, of course. Do you experience that a lot? I mean, not like even with other comics you see?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's basically going to come onto a comic that's being weak on stage.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, it's a dogfight sometimes in there, and you got drunk assholes that they're used to being the loud guy and the funny guy with the stock jokes they tell in the office. So, what I normally like, I have different approaches to it. It really depends on the mood I'm in and what crowd I'm facing. A lot of times I'll just let them hang themselves because they're not. If you really are taking being a comic serious, then you really do work that muscle too. Where if I'm in a verbal altercation, how do I not only destroy this person and shut them up, but I don't turn the crowd against me, nor do I turn it into a feeding frenzy where all they want is blood and I got to just be mean to everybody to get out. You know? So, you know, it really turns into stuff. So it really depends. Like, a lot of times I just come out and my first couple minutes are written to be really fast and punchy so that if you are going to try and heckle, that everything's going right, there's no time. You know what I mean? I got the crowd on my side already, so if you do heckle, then I've got every right to come after you, however, because I've already kind of pulled the crowd towards me, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then other ways, you just get quiet and let them say something ignorant, and once they do, you just flip it on them and, you know, destroy them with it and go from there. So, yeah, you just got to read the situation. So I do encounter it. I was in Albuquerque a couple days ago, and there were three people in the back that just wouldn't shut up and trying to work out new stuff. So eventually I just had to go over to them and make fun of them for a bit. And, you know, once they realized they couldn't out-talk me, then they shut up. You know what I mean? But then the comic after me went up there and couldn't handle them. And those people just, the whole room overpowered them, you know. So you'll experience it from time to time, you know.
Yeah, because if you have something set up a certain way, you think it's going to go, and then there's no laugh or people aren't even paying attention, I could see how that just like start crushing you as, like me, especially so early in my thing.
It can either crush you or it can bolster you. You are the one that determines how it affects you. If you let it crush you, then you're never going to learn how to turn what's not a room into a room.
Yeah.
You know, I started out doing comedy in Vegas, and we have to contend with slot machines. So the analogy I always use is that no matter how hard I try and be one of a kind on stage, it's never going to be four of a kind when somebody's doing max bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I knew that I was starting to learn how to kind of turn a room to at least pay attention to me for a minute. You know what I mean? Because of that. Because I had to get people to turn around from damn video purposes. So Yeah, so just dealing with drunks now, I'm like, you're just drunk. You're not chasing greed right now. So it's not that bad, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way to look.
So yeah, don't ever let it crush you, man. Let that be the fuel to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, like the non-response is my big thing I'm overcoming now, because like as a musician I always learn to play through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they won't even notice you made a mistake if you just keep playing. With comedy it's the same thing, but it's hard to move into your next joke if you don't feel your segue was accomplished. You pretty much, I don't know, like for example, I went from some Netflix movie references into a Russian Bride bit that I had thought of earlier that day pretty much, and everything worked, but when I didn't get one joke, and then one of the jokes that I didn't expect to be funny was funny, it just threw me off, and I stumbled into this Russian Bride thing, and then I started explaining it instead of like doing what my bit was originally, which was just like, and then there's a movie about Russian brides, and then I was gonna do a list of like just words that made you think for yourself and the audience, you know, like return policies, product testing, product availability, you know, product transportation.
What about recalls?
Recalls, yeah, all the different aspects.
We sent you one with herpes, our bad.
Yeah, non-disclosure. Yeah, see, so if I sat here for a little while but I fucked it up because right away I wasn't getting the reaction I was expecting. So I started like explaining it to them, and it was completely the wrong way to do it because it was only funny because of the way that I was framing it and letting them do the work.
Yeah.
So.
That sounds like nervousness, and there's nothing wrong.
Oh, for sure, there was.
I have broken down because one-liners didn't work.
But I had a great set before that. I did like 2 minutes of like one-liners pretty much.
Yeah.
And they ate it all up, and then.
Yeah, well.
I stumbled.
Yeah, and that's the thing about stumbling. You know, there's always people that talk about, well, you know, what if I screw this joke up or I stumble on this? Like 9 times out of 10, they haven't heard the joke before, and if they have, they don't know if you've rewritten it. They don't know your act word by word. So if you fumble, who cares? Have fun with it.
Do it again.
Well, yeah, or not even do it again. Just find a way to rope it back around, or make fun of yourself for screwing up.
Okay.
Man, I've screwed up so many jokes, and I'll back out of it. You know, I'll make fun of myself to try and reset it up. And then, and if it doesn't work, then I'm like, well, I'm an idiot. You know, I should have known
that
better.
didn't work, and then I've seen people tastefully do that.
You're not. If you're stuck to a script, there's nothing wrong with that. But when something goes wrong, you're out of tune now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somebody pulled a spark plug while you're in the car, dude. You're just jumping around trying to figure out where you should be.
Yeah.
So I build mine like Lego blocks. Everything kind of snaps together here and there. So that if I got to back up for a second, I can disconnect and move around. And it's because I started writing one-liners, and then I started being given more time than I was ready for. So I had to fill up in between one-liners. So I basically I had to put fat in, but I had to keep the fat funny. You know what I mean? So I started telling people that my theory is just to speak in punchlines. Make every sentence a punchline. It doesn't have to be a strong one. You know what I mean? It can be a high shot, low shot, middle shot, whatever.
Yeah, a giggle works.
But you're building that momentum. You know what I mean? So that helped me with a lot of that stuff to where I could disconnect and pull back faster and go, okay, I've got to shift some stuff around because I went too dirty too soon and I haven't made them trust me yet. So let me go back to some more self-deprecating stuff and make fun of myself for a few more minutes. And then I'll come back over here and start ripping apart whatever this asshole did to me today. You know what I mean? Like, so.
What do you think about reusing jokes? Because I have personally seen a lot of guys do the same set for like 6 months now that we've been doing this. I've done 10 mics in about 6 months and only reused a couple jokes a couple of times, but I've seen guys who are seasoned vets doing the same set over and over again.
Are they, if they're polishing it, like if they're changing the wording, adding punchlines, letting the bit grow, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you're up there for 6 months and you're saying the same exact words over and over and you're not trying to change your inflection, if you're doing the same thing over and over for 6 months, you're going to do the same thing over and over. So if you're going into an open mic and you're doing that joke the same exact way for 6 months, then you're never going to move forward.
Okay.
So you have to evolve. So there's nothing wrong. I've got jokes that I've been telling about 2 years.
Okay, but they're the keeper ones, right?
They're the ones that I've stuck with because they'll get a real big response, or I'll say it one night and somebody will yell something out, and then I'll end up doing 5 minutes just off my head because they said something ignorant that fired me up. You know what I mean? There's so many different reasons I hold on to bits, and what happens is I'll tell them, and since I build them with that Lego block way, I don't necessarily have segues. It's just kind of me talking and getting to it eventually. So if the crowd's moving slower, then I know, okay, I got to pull back a little bit. I got to draw these words out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So do a lot of shit like that. Sorry, I get to rambling.
No, man.
But where were we going with that?
Just go anywhere.
So yeah, that's why I write a lot of the stuff the way I do. I just write it so it's that's what it is. So I'll necessarily like if you were to watch me tonight, and then you see me a year from now, you'll see the same skeleton. Possibly. I'm about to work on a whole bunch of new stuff, but depending on where you see me, it'll be like if you see this set a week from now, it'll be the same skeleton. But the way that I write it leaves me free to have fun with it. To where if you watch me 3 nights in a row, you see the same set but 3 different variations on it because I'm not stuck to anything with it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just have certain points that I try and get to along the way, and I have certain jokes I want to make. Everything else around it, we're just kind of going with it and seeing what's coming on. And some nights I'll have 30 minutes of stuff written down for a 30-minute set, and then I'll get through 12 of it.
So that's like you could say that you're not a riffing comic, but you can do what they do too. You just do it whenever you want. You're not a riffing comic.
I can riff
because it's a skill you have.
I'm just not confident with it enough at this point to deliver the end product that I have, that I can get with the jokes that I've written.
Yeah. I don't like the riffing comic mentality.
Yeah, well, it's very, you become a gambler with it.
Yeah.
And I found myself doing that because I did a run. I did about 40 colleges in 2.5 months. So I was tired of my material. So when I got home to Vegas, I was like, I've been doing these colleges where I just go up and do crowd work to fill time when jokes aren't working. So let me see if I can do 15 minutes. I'll go up there and do the crowd work to try and get the points, and I could do it. And I was having some fun sets. I was having some shit sets too because I didn't go up there with a plan. So the nights when everything wasn't clicking, I looked like a real asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the nights where everything was clicking, I felt like a genius, was pounding my own chest. I can do this, you know? So I just haven't gotten confident enough in riffing that I can deliver the product on stage to where I feel confident giving it to a crowd. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I think it's a cheap trick anyway. I think you're a writing comic. That's the best.
Well, I think both because...
I mean, it's good to be able to, yeah.
I really enjoy just having a battle of wits. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And it's being... Riffing as a comic is being thrown out of an airplane and then somebody throws your parachute out 10 seconds after. You know what I mean? You have to slow it down. You have to slow down and get your parachute, or you got to aim for soft landing. You know what I mean? It's just that's the only 2 choices you have. So it's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Because when you pull it off, you feel like fucking Patrick Swayze in Point Break. I didn't know it was going to round out that way. But that's how you end up feeling. But the nights it doesn't work, you're like, that was a suicide attempt. You know what I mean? I'm an idiot for that. And you feel like you cheated your crowd because, like, once again, I look at comedy as a product. So the end result is I want people to come back to Tony's Theater and come see me next time I'm in town.
For sure.
So if I go up there and riff, it just may not be a good night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a couple of the nights I've gone up, my goal was to just not have anything and see if I could do it without starting to cry or turning red and shit, you know? So, yeah, and I'm a big fan of the one-liner, two-liner jokes from the old days.
I love all styles of joke writing, and I think it's important to utilize all of them, unless you're going to be like a storytelling comic strictly, then I get that. But I think if you're going to be a joke writing comic, I think you should experience all types of jokes to write, not just one-liners, not just puns and things like that. You should really flex all your muscles.
Okay. What if you're a storytelling comic and you're just doing open mics?
You really need to examine your stories. You know what I mean? That's one of those where I've done stories on stage. I actually love telling stories, but I really got to get a crowd to trust me and trust each other for me to sit, or it's got to be going total horse shit. If none of the jokes are working, I'm like, fuck it, we're going to work some shit out together, folks. And I'll just pull up a chair, sit down, and just start talking. You know what I mean? Let's figure this out. So storytelling comic, you really got to look at your stuff, and you really got to know how to edit your story, and really get, if you got to leave it in there, like I said, speaking punchlines, turn it into a joke, or find something in it. So storytelling comics going to an open mic, you're brave. You know what I mean? Because it's going to take you more than 5 minutes to rope a crowd in and then make them listen to your bullshit story.
Yeah.
Because it's until you really tune it into the crowd, it's just a bullshit story you're telling somebody. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of storytelling.
So if you had a good story now at this point in your career, would you rather riff into the story, or would you rather one-liner, two-liner it into the story?
I don't know. Like I said, a lot of the times the storytelling is just something I'm doing because what I've written is not working.
Okay.
So a lot of time it does come from a rift where I'm just talking about something and somebody's like, oh, something happens in the crowd, or somebody says something, or I end up screwing up and saying something, and it just clicks that reminder in my head that, oh, you got a story about that. And then I'll just try telling it, and and I'll try and do it the justice it deserves that I would do if I was sitting around getting drunk with you telling you the story.
Okay.
But it's difficult. You really got to put yourself in the moment, and then you feel like the crowd's already not trusting you anyway, so you kind of pull back and you're shy. So you really got to work on it. If you're going to be a storytelling comic, it really is a skill. I mean, a skill.
Yeah.
You really got to pound that out.
Yeah, have some type of comic attributes to you while you're telling the story.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something I've discovered was like the storytelling being a joke. But yeah, I've noticed that it's like almost impossible to do in the open mic setting unless you're like a seasoned guy doing mics.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of that comes from like what you were saying about the crowd trusting you.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys they trust because they've seen them kill all these different times. Like Cole's, a couple places, the same guys show up every week.
Yeah.
I could see them having long-term faith from the crowd.
And that's why you as a comic, you need to seek out venues you shouldn't do well in. Because if you go to a place where you shouldn't go well and you do well, then you're getting it. You know what I mean? If you go
I need to go to a black room.
Go to a black room.
Because I failed my second mic was in
Dude,
black people.
If we went to play basketball with a bunch of other overweight men, we ain't challenging ourselves to do shit.
You're absolutely right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we want to fucking go swimming with Michael Phelps, then we're pushing it.
Yeah.
And that's where you can go to the safe rooms, and the safe rooms are good to have because they keep you from fucking carving Brooks was here and then hanging yourself.
Yeah.
But also you need to go in there. You need to go in there, and you need to be made felt uncomfortable because at some point you're going to be doing some shithole gig in Billings, Montana, which is actually, that's a great room, by the way. But you'll
bad example.
Yeah, it's a bad example.
Bad example.
But you'll do some little podunk town where people aren't used to comedy and they don't come out. You got 6 people there. You drove 800 miles to make $150 on the first show. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's 6 people there, and you got to be excited for this. This is somewhere you're like, I'm trying to be a big time comedian. I got to be excited for this.
Yeah.
Well, that's why when you go into these rooms where you're not supposed to work and you make it work, dude, you'll go into a room full of anybody at that point. I'm gonna show you people I'm funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's where I think a lot of comics screw up is they only play safe rooms.
Yeah.
So.
Where did you said you started doing comedy in Vegas. Are you from Vegas?
No, I'm originally from Mississippi.
Okay.
And then I just, through the years, I ended up out there about 4 years ago.
Well, like building cars and stuff?
No, I got tired of building cars and ended up just moving out there because it was a city people could disappear in, So I just went out there and hung out and had no real intentions of doing anything more with my life.
Really?
I was just like, well, I failed at that one dream. I guess I'm done. So just went
out. And then what was the day like? You were like, I'm going to do stand-up comedy.
I used to hang out with a bunch of like entertainers in Vegas. I just ended up meeting like a couple of hip-hop artists and a couple other guys, and we'd all go to kickbacks together, just hang out, barbecues and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'd just get lit and start being loud and obnoxious and telling whatever jokes I could, making fun of people, just doing whatever I could to get attention. And they kept encouraging me to do an open mic. And basically the way I always looked at comedy was kind of like, being a comedian is like trying to be a rock star, being an actor. It's something we all think about, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
We all dream about it, so you kind of write it off.
Yeah.
So I went and did it to prove to them that I shouldn't be doing it. Had a lot of fun, and then got sent out of town to work with a catastrophe adjuster on the side. So was out doing that, and then I came back and I was like, all right, I had a lot of fun. That one time I was on stage, I'm going to sit down and write material, and when I get back to Vegas, I'm just going to go for it. So I sat down and wrote for about 2 months. I just sat down and wrote a bunch of stuff and just kept looking at it, refining it in my head. When I got back to Vegas, I started and never stopped. So I'm set the goal to do 300 mics in my first year. So that I hustled, and I think I hit the 300 mark right around August.
Wow. How long have you been doing comedy overall?
October 3rd will make 3 years.
Wow.
So, it's because I put the time in, and I went.
So you did 300 mics in 1 year?
Yeah.
Wow. It's taken me 6 months. Well, since but it's taken me 6 months to do 10.
Yeah. I had no choice. If I want to get away from manual labor, I've got to treat it like any other job.
Oh, for sure.
So, I couldn't.
That takes a lot of balls to do that one thing.
You just got to commit, man. I mean, it's like anything else. If you're gonna be a mechanic, if you're not trying to be the best one out there, then what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? If you're not trying to be the best person at who you are and what you do, I don't know why you're doing it.
Yeah, I read somewhere it's like 10,000 hours at anything, you'd probably be successful, or no, you're never going to be successful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no shit. I don't know, wow, I bet I got that much into masturbation. I'm going to keep trying, you know? But, yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's like going to the batting cage, man. You know what I mean? This is your gym. You're never going to build muscles if you go to the gym once every 2 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where, you know, and I understand there's restrictions on people, and it takes time of getting, you know, you have to get used to probably not being funny as you want to be at first. You know, and you're getting chuckles and you're trying to farm it out and figure it out. That's why you have to be doing it every single day. That way you don't, if I bomb tonight, the next place is going to get it. Because I got to wash this off of me, you know what I mean? So if I have a rough set, then I got to go twice as hard on the next one to remind myself that you committed to this, you know what I mean? You're going through a lot of heartache and hardship to do this, so don't half-ass this at any point in time.
Yeah.
So that's where I just committed, man, and I saved up money and I invested, and I was going to other cities and doing comedy, and you know, and that's where I just kind of laid the groundwork, and now I can go back to those places paid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's cool, and you're touring everywhere and stuff. That's amazing.
So it was a little investment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're in a good area. The Midwest is a great area for that, where you can drive to a ton of gigs. You know what I mean? So make a run at it, save up, and, you know, do a ton of open mics. When you're doing multiple mics a night, you'll bomb at one, and that whole ride, train ride, bus ride, whatever it is over there, you got that shame on you. And then you walk in there and you're like, I can't go home like this. You know what I mean? I just can't go home defeated. And you'll push a little harder, you'll try something a little different, you'll talk into the mic directly, you'll be a little louder. You'll start thinking about everything you did, you know what I mean? Because you're doing 2-a-days at that point. It's like football practice.
Yeah.
You know, so you dropped the ball earlier. Well, why'd you drop the ball? You didn't look up quick enough, whatever. You wasn't running the route right.
Yeah.
Stepping on your own bit, you know. Now you got it in your head and you go back and do it. Or you step on your own bit and magic happens and you get a big laugh out of it and you're like, I got to try that again, see if that was a fluke. You know, I got to recreate that. So, yeah, that's where.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a segue word you get the big laugh on and you're like, I just showed you magical potatoes I formed, and now you're laughing at the fork falling off the edge of the plate. Like, because I don't.
Maybe, do you still worry about what's smart and what's not?
I think I'm very smart.
That's fine. No, you're totally allowed to think that.
That's what I want to do.
Don't force it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't force it. Okay.
Just be you. I mean, be you, be yourself. Use your voice. A lot of comics spend years looking for their own voice. Maybe I haven't found mine yet, but I'm having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, like I said, if you read my joke book, you'll see one where it starts out with "Look here." You know what I mean? Because I write in my dialect. I write how I talk. So I do a lot of that. So I quit. I used to try and write smart.
Yeah.
Everything was proper on paper, and I was like, this is not how I talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is not the lingo I use. I don't use words this big, and when I do, I'm taking the G off of them. Or I'm shortening the middle of it down. I'm putting
I don't write the word for word joke out.
Yeah.
I write my concept, and then I write little hits. I figure it's not a joke unless it has a center point and then hits around it. So if I'm talking about cars, I would have to be able to talk about the door, have some funny thing to say about it, the headlight, the tires. Otherwise, I don't consider it a joke. And then I have this theory of keeping it simple, like you were saying with the Legos. So if something went wrong, I could just not stick to the script and I can maneuver.
Yep.
But that also said, in my beginning, it's messing me up sometimes. But I think in the long run, when I get more comfortable, it will be what I thought it was, which would be preparation for change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what, never be married to your joke being only one way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you may have a great idea and just not executing it right just yet.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote jokes at first that I did not know how to properly convey to people.
Wow.
So I had to go back. I just kind of set them to the back and was like, I cannot do this without it coming out as hateful or spiteful or whatever.
That's a big thing I'm noticing. Yeah.
So, like my approach to things now is if I don't think a joke's right away about something, I just start writing roast jokes about it.
Okay.
Because anytime I don't like something, I just start making fun of it, and I'll start picking apart all the little stuff I don't like, and next thing I'll get down to the big issue of what's really bothering me about this.
Okay.
And that's where I'll start finding my point of view on stuff like that. So if you ever get stuck on something, that's just something I've been telling people that I do, is this
You're
write roast
right.
jokes about it. You know?
Yeah, why throw the joke away if someone roasted you on the jokes after some set and you were able to go change it and do it again? Yeah. I could see a very complex things coming from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Let's cut because I'm losing my mind.